Hola, buenas tardes. Yo me llamo Sayra Cacho.
Y yo, Vanessa Gonzalez.
Nosotras vinimos desde Calselville, California. Nos gustaría darle las gracias a Claire y a AVID Australia por habernos volado a este lugar tan hermoso con personas extraordinarias. También nos gustaría darle las gracias a nuestros mentores Katie, Taitoku y Tim Gill por habernos acompañado y darnos una experiencia que nunca olvidaremos.
Good afternoon. I'm Vanessa Gonzalez.
And I'm Sayra Cacho.
We come from Kelsville, California. We would like to thank Claire and AVID Australia for having us fly out to such an amazing country with incredible people. We would also like to thank our mentors, Katie Taitoku and Tim Gill, for accompanying us and helping us partake in this unforgettable adventure. My parents are migrant agricultural workers, so when I was 6 months old, my parents started taking me to different babysitters until I was eligible for preschool with the help of our local migrant education program. In preschool, I began to learn English and started learning curriculum I would learn in school. After starting preschool, my parents began doing a combination of both preschool and babysitters, so they would still be able to complete a full workday of farm labor. Once I was enrolled in kindergarten, my parents began taking my brother and I out to work with them during our school breaks, so they would still be able to complete their work while not having to pay a babysitter. I remember one Thanksgiving break when I was in first grade. We were out in the pear orchards owned by a very kind family. This was our best job. My little brother and I were running around, playing hide and seek, and looking for branches to build our forts with. We would periodically stop to drink water and eat because my parents worked from around 6:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the afternoon. My parents would occasionally check up on us and make sure we were behaving, but often they did not worry because they knew that by 6 years old, I would take care of my little brother. I like to refer to myself as a second mother because of how much I took care of him then and continue to now, even if he is taller than I am. I grew up in a Mexican household and had to observe how the women played the submissive role to the husband. I began to resent this lifestyle because I was exposed to a different culture in school, and it was much different from what my parents were accustomed to. They, however, continued their attempts at engraving their life into mine. My father desired to have the traditional wife and daughter trapped in the kitchen while the men lounged. But I continued to go against his wishes because it was not what I believed in. I was growing up in a country where anything was possible. The United States is the land of the free. It's very progressive, and it was not what they had grown up believing. Always having their perspectives in mind and being in a very liberal country allowed me to view every side of an argument. I became very accepting of all opinions. However, I was also able to separate certain perspectives and create my own opinion on the issue at hand. Being open-minded is not something that is easy, especially in a Mexican household. But I have been able to master the craft of it and have become open-minded myself and continue to do so throughout my life, and I hope it stays that way. As I grew older, I realized that all my parents were doing for me was embedded in their love for us, and I knew that my love for them would be my motivation to become successful in life. Since I was 5 years old, I have either wanted to become a lawyer or a doctor so that I could give back to the world and also be able to provide for my future family and my parents. I have wanted to offer them a house of their own and allow them to be free of any financial worries they may have because they would have me to fall back on. My parents are a large part of my motivation. However, my brother inspires me as well. From the second my little brother was born, I made it my responsibility to make sure he would always be okay. I wanted him to aspire to surpass the expectations that society would place on him as a first-generation Mexican American. I expected him to go above and beyond the academic accomplishments that I would achieve, so I grounded myself in my schoolwork. My parents did not have an education beyond primary level, so they did not know I was doing most of the time. So this caused a fear in me that I would fail, but that didn't hold me down for long. I became very independent and learned on my own. I asked teachers for help when it was necessary, and I used the study habits that I developed through the Cornell note-taking skills that AVID showed us, and I became top of my class. Now that I am a senior in high school, stirring at the top of my class, he has accomplished many things of his own. My brother calls me his role model because he has accomplished many things, and I hope he stays on his path. I want to exceed not only my personal goals, but the expectations that he has for me. I want to teach him to shoot for the moon, because even if he falls short, he will still be among the stars.
I have experienced several challenges throughout my life, but none of them compare to starting a new life in a new country. As a child, I did not understand why my parents wanted to live and stay in the United States. I didn't even understand how difficult it really was to be able to cross over or obtain legal status. Although I hardly remember the process of getting a passport, I knew the instant that I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I knew the instant that I came over to the United States that I was going to change, and so I would. I migrated from Mexico to the United States when I was 7 years old. I had this idea of how the US was supposed to be, but it was nothing like I had imagined it to be. In Mexico, people think that the US is the best country in the world, but they praise it like if it was some type of god, when in reality, it's nothing too special. Living in the US has come with many sacrifices, but in the end, they've been worth it. You're leaving everything behind without knowing what's going to happen. You're leaving your family, hometown, and a part of who you are. Leaving my grandparents and hometown made me feel homesick. It took 6 years for me to feel like the United States was home. Throughout those 6 years, I would ask my dad every couple of months when we were going to go back to Mexico. He would always say the same thing, in 2 or 3 years. Eventually, I stopped asking because I made a whole new life for myself. As much as I love Mexico, I would not live there anymore forever. It just feels like a second home now. Migrating to the US challenged me academically, and it still does. The only English I knew when I immigrated were basic words like bye, hello, mom, dad, etc., that I had learned from my dad. But it wasn't enough for me to be able to communicate, especially at school. I was in 2nd grade when we first arrived, but the school year was already halfway through, so I was held back. I remember feeling devastated because I was such a good student in Mexico that this was such a big step back at the time. Now that I'm older, I think that was something that was meant to happen because I've accomplished so much. I believe I've conquered plenty with all the hard work I've had put in order to be where I am today. Having hearing aids isn't an easy topic for me to talk about. I didn't know I couldn't hear well until I was in 3rd grade. The next school year, I had my first pair of hearing aids. I remember I hated when one of my classmates would ask me what they were and why I needed them, because it was a constant reminder that I was different. I also didn't want them to feel bad or make fun of me. I became self-conscious and embarrassed. It got to the point where I stopped using them or would try to hide them with my hair because I didn't want anyone to see me with them. This made it harder for me to keep up in school and to keep learning English. Eventually, I realized that I shouldn't be hiding them because it was for my own good. Well, it is. I wish that someone would have told me that it was okay for me to let people see my hearing aids rather than hide them, because there are so many children out there that have them or need them, that it was common in children too. As I'm getting older, I've changed my perspective on life, violence, politics, and among other things. Being able to live in both Mexico and the US has exposed me to a wide range of conflicts, ideas, cultural traditions, and different backgrounds, as well as beliefs, that have influenced the way I view certain topics. One of the many topics I am very passionate about is racism. I've had my fair share of racist comments that have gotten the best of me. One of those comments that has stuck with me was from a guy at my school. A few hours before Donald Trump was going to be inaugurated as the president. I remember him turning around and telling me, "Have you started packing yet before you get kicked out?" At the moment, I almost lost it. Not only because he told me this, but because it wasn't the first comment he'd made about this. I told him that it wasn't going to happen because I was a permanent resident and I had a passport. He looked at me confused and asked me how that was going to change anything. Many people think it's really simple to obtain legal status or a passport, but it really isn't. There's a whole process to it. So many people get denied, but I was one of the lucky ones and can someday become a dual citizen if I want. I am the person I am today because of these challenges. Although starting a new life challenged me academically and socially, I learned the importance of hard work, embracing who I am, and leadership. My life would have been completely different if I had given up soon. Now, I want to be able to help those who come from another country because I know it's a difficult experience that should not be dealt with alone.
Last February, our counselor called us in to talk about QuestBridge, a program for high-achieving, low-income students. The process was going to be rigorous, but we could potentially earn a full ride to any of the nation's best universities. Our AVID teacher, Ms. Daitoku, helped us keep on top of our application, answered all of our questions, and was there to deal with our worries. A couple of months after submitting our final drafts, I found out that I had become a finalist. I felt as if the worst part was over, but I was sadly mistaken. The wait for the next few months was nerve-wracking. Did I match to a university? Was I going to have to wait and apply for a regular decision? These questions were just recently answered on my first day here. December 3rd, I found out that I had not been matched to a college. However, I will still be applying for early decision to many of the universities located in California.
Unlike any other class, AVID has prepared us for universities and what is to come in the future. It has been one of our most helpful classes and a guiding hand through our high school careers. AVID has helped us grow as individuals and become more independent. If it wasn't for AVID, we would not be as organized about our grades or our binders. This class has exposed us to the different options we have after high school, which has been very helpful, especially this year. This amazing program has also prepared us for the different university entrance exams and taught us many important academic skills and habits. However, our AVID class would not have been the same without our personal counselor, psychologist, and caring teacher, Katie Daitoku. She had been there to lift us through all our ups and downs. We couldn't be more thankful and blessed to have an amazing teacher like her. She has been a role model for us and will always be someone we look up to because there is no other teacher who can compare. We love you.
Okay, that's it. Right?
As teachers, it is important to be a guiding hand for all students. We know it can be difficult at times with some students, but you should never give up on them. Sometimes their bad behavior can be a cry for help or a product of a rough time in their lives. Try to be there for them because you really never know what they're going through, whether it be a family issue or something deeper. Keep motivating them every day and give them the support they need because you can be that changing factor in their lives. Be a teacher, a mentor, a guiding hand, but most importantly, a friend.
Thank you for
all of your time. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.